Hi, I'm Kieran. I'm a global authority on AI and digital transformation who has spent over 3 decades working on digital transformation, enterprise technology, and AI programs. Today, I'm joined by Ferdinand, a co-founder of Pletor, a platform where marketing and creative teams combine the best AI models to design and automate creative workflows, like Zapier for visual marketing. Today, we're going to unpack AI, the brand engine, and what it means for modern marketing teams. Ferdinand, how are you today?
Great, thanks. Glad to be talking today.
Excellent. Well, look, we'll jump straight in. We'll not keep the audience waiting. Let me ask you the first question. What are the biggest problems senior marketing leaders, chief marketing officers, and so on are facing right now? Is it cost, speed, volume, brand consistency? You name it. Where are they feeling it?
So today, like the main topic is actually to scale production of assets without like screwing up the brand. Because like CEOs are seeing all like the magic stuff that you can do with AI. And then they turn to the CMOs, to their creative leaders and so on and tell them, okay, like if you can do that for like 10 euros, why don't we achieve the same performances, right? And the truth is that it's a little bit more complicated than that, because like AI is not magic. But like this is, especially in like mid-size, like to large organizations, this is really the big challenge. Like, how do I scale my creative output? How do I make more without doing AI slop?
Well, how do they do that? Because it feels like marketing teams have more AI tools than ever, but campaign production still feels slow and still feels fragmented. So I kind of get why CEOs are frustrated.
Yeah, so I think the challenge is that today most AI solutions, like when it comes like to creative tools, design tools, most AI solutions are made to create one asset. So, you know, you do a cool prompt, you get the first results, you made a few iterations and so on, and okay. But then every time you start again, like you restart from scratch. You need to copy paste your good prompts, rework like your visual references and so on every time you need to create a new asset. But the thing is, within an organization, you don't need one good asset. You need to create variations. You need to create new assets, like localized campaigns in each country and so on. So it's more a matter of creating the right production system. And this is the gap we're filling, right? Because we say like, okay, once you have the recipe to create one good asset, we help you put in place the right system to scale to dozens, hundreds of assets without losing the consistency.
So what you're talking about feels like an AI powered creative platform or an AI brand engine. But if you had to explain that to a CEO in 1 minute, what would you say? What's the difference between an AI brand engine and a general AI imaging tool, for example?
Yes. So with Pletor, they can create repeatable, creative workflows that scale creative output while keeping a very high level of creative control. They access the best AI models. They tailor these AI models into workflows to match specific visual needs while integrating all the brand constraints, brand guidelines, like all the relevant context. And once this workflow is built, it can be used throughout the organizations by designers, but also non-designers.
Okay, so what does the architecture look like then? Is it an agentic generating content engine? Is it an orchestration tool? Does it make decisions about what to produce? You know, what's the data that powers this beast?
Yeah. So it's really a two-step product. The first step is the workflow. So you can think of it like NA10, you can think of it like Zapier, like you have nodes, blocks that you connect to each other. Each node has a role. It can be an input, like a visual references, my product picture, my mood board. It can be an AI action, like generate an image, generate a video, or it can be also like more tactical tools, like human review. So I'll check if the image is good or not before like turning into a video. So this is where you do the design iterations, and this is where you create the recipe. And once you have this recipe set up, so you have all these blocks that make sense and that consistently create good outputs, you can deploy this as a small app, basically. And here we're leaning more and more toward like agentic action. So for example, we have a Cloud connector, we have these small apps and so on. And basically you can prompt and say like, send this out, like make a meta ad campaign around this concept for this product. And this is me as a paid marketing person, for example, that will do this prompt. But what is in the back end is this workflow. So it's really like the workflow is the back end, and then the second step of the product is the front end. And the idea is to make the front end like usable anywhere, like prompting ChatGPT.
Yeah. So how do you prevent asset chaos when potentially everyone could be producing thousands of variants of the original asset?
So this prevention happens at several steps. The first step is within the workflow itself, the workflow intelligence, because here, this is where you set up the brand guidelines. This is where you set up like LLM-powered points of control, where you can say, actually, my tone of voice is that. So if someone is writing a prompt that doesn't fit with my brand guidelines, change it, for example. So here you have a bunch of rules that are already set up within the workflow. And then the second part is like we put like control rules at the workflow, like in the more like app or the execution part. So validation, like point of control. For example, you have this human review that lets you check whether it's good or not. You have also like the ability to create like internal points of control to validate an asset before it's pushed in production, for example.
So with a creative engine, then who owns it internally? Does it sit with brand, performance, creative ops, the marketing team? Is it a new hybrid role or function?
So the team that owns the assets, in the sense that shapes the workflows, that shapes the creative intelligence, tends to be like the internal studio, internal agency, like creative team, like however you call it. Because you need at this step, you need people who understand AI, but who even more like understand visual, like we have this visual fluency. And then the platform can be operated by anyone in the organization.
So if everyone suddenly gets hold of a creative engine, are we saying content becomes more commoditized, or how do we differentiate our brand and ideally not create AI slop in the process?
So the first, I don't think content is becoming commoditized. I mean, I think basically the production of content is just going to become infinite. So there won't be any more, like for 95% of like marketing use cases, there won't be any more blockers in terms of like volume capacity. As a brand, this is a big opportunity because it unlocks a lot of storytelling possibilities. It unlocks a lot of use cases that are today very hard to achieve well. Very tactical use case, for example, is localization. Today, except like the wealthiest brands in the world, when you need to localize the content in 10 countries, you have to make some trade-offs. So for example, you will always show the same like white male of 45 across your campaigns because this is your average user. Even if it doesn't talk to like many of your smaller countries, smaller markets, smaller audiences. So this is a big opportunity. the big challenge is like, how do I stay distinctive? You know, in a world where like everybody can prompt an image in Midjourney or whatever, Nano Banana or whatever, you know, like how do I stay unique? And this is why we have this workflow part, which makes sure it's your brand. And also this setup, and this is kind of a second order effect, but which is very powerful, is this setup will let creative teams spend less time on the production thing itself, like, you know, manually placing shapes on Figma and so on, and spend more time on, okay, like now we have an infinite production power. Like, what cool stories can we tell? What creative ideas can we come up with? And I think this is more the future.
So if we look 3 years ahead, then what do you think will separate the brands that have truly mastered AI-driven creative from those that have simply adopted a collection of AI tools?
Yeah. I think the top brands will see a new profile emerge, which is a creative engineer. So it's someone who has the creative knowledge, the creative skill set, but who is able to turn this creativity into a repeatable system. And this system will not only make this creative more efficient, but will power the rest of the organization. And the rest of the organization can be the rest of the creative organization, like its fellow designers, its fellow creative people, and so on, but also marketing teams and so on. And these organizations will think about the asset production like that. They will say like, okay, can we turn this concept into a repeatable production system? If so, they will do it. And this will be powered by creative engineers. If not, they will like craft like one visual and ship it, and that's fine. But it means that 80% of the time of this organization will shift from we make assets, we just repeat the same tasks again and again, to, okay, like what cool story can we make? And this will turn into like better branding, better website conversion, better meta ads performance, and so on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen a role, I kind of liked it. It was called a vibe growth marketing manager. So we're not losing marketing managers, but I love the fact growth was put in front of it, because rather than getting clicks, what we actually want is sales. We want conversions, not just, you know, SEO likes or something else. And then I love the word vibe in front of it. And what they were more or less talking about was a full stack marketing engineer. Bit of a unicorn today, but give them the creative engine, let them loose, allow them to create the assets and the tools and the direction that the company absolutely needs. And I kind of like that as well. So Ferdinand, to finish off, if a CMO is listening today, or a creative or a VP of marketing, what are the practical steps that they need to take to move towards some form of AI brand engine? And what are the skills that they need to hire or have themselves to allow them to truly use this tool at scale, but not to create AI slop, to create a distinct brand that is across every channel, that actually helps them grow their business in an affordable way, that the CEO congratulates them, as opposed to kicks them on a daily basis to ask, why are they not using the latest AI shiny tool?
Yeah. I think I would start like with 2 points. The first one is, keep in mind, AI is not magic. So I see way too many, and that's surprising, right? But I see like way too many marketing teams where they tell me, well, AI doesn't work for us. And when I dig into it, I realize they just send free half-baked paint prompts to Nano Banana, or sometimes like even like not SOTA models like ChatGPT, and they're like, okay, AI doesn't work. Well, guess what? It requires a bit more work. So okay, I accept there's a learning curve, and ideally to do this, like this first step of like, you know, accepting it's not magic, it's good to identify internally or externally someone who has this curiosity willingness to learn something new. Because if you find someone, even who is not maybe the best creative in your team, or who has no like previous creative background or whatever, if you have this person, like this person will be able to go deep and get progressively towards the best results. So that's really the first thing. Like, don't expect something magic, except that it takes time. And the second one is be very concrete and pragmatic, and start with use cases that are a good fit with AI capabilities. So it's way easier to do good like e-commerce pack shots with AI, or like PDP videos or meta ads, than to do like a 2-minute video, like top of funnel that will go on TV, So it's a matter of like, start small, and keep in mind it's not magic, and it may require a little bit of time and trial and error before like getting the actually good results.
I think you'll have many a CEO crying because I don't think it's marketing alone.
I think what we're seeing is that creativity is becoming a process like others. And actually, like in the creative processes part, AI, what you observe in AI is like what you observe in other like branches, like customer care and so on. Like, you need to do some setup, you need to understand how models work, you need to start small with the right use cases, and then you build an engine. So it's interesting, because until recently, like creativity was something like, it was like you get in a room, get this big idea, and then you have that, like you make a shooting and so on. Like, it was a bit different from how businesses work. And now I think like actually it's quite close to other like AI workflows and AI processes.
Yeah, I think everything that's worthwhile takes time, and AI in itself is an investment. It's not a project. It's more a program that continues and continues and continues. So look, folks, if you're under pressure to produce more creative, faster, more magically across more channels with the same or smaller team, then I think the shift that AI makes assets is maybe not actually true. It's that brand rule still exists, and if you can create a production scale system, and obviously, as you're saying, Ferdinand, you don't have to begin with a blank page, because this thing can help, but it isn't magic. There is investment. It takes time, but it's a worthwhile investment. Ferdinand, if people want to find out a little bit more about you and the work that you do, how did they go about doing that?
Actually, I was working as a growth lead at a French startup called Alma, which is a buy now, pay later provider. And it was like 2 years ago, and I saw like all these things happening around like AI in general, but especially like Midjourney, Stable Diffusion. And I was like, okay, there's no way this doesn't change how we operate today. Because at the same time, I saw like for us having like 10 ad creatives shipped was a process of several weeks with back and forth with the design team, where you end up with like low creativity outputs. And I was like, okay, these can make cool visuals in like a few seconds. And today it takes weeks. No way AI is not going to change things completely. But I also realized that what was missing was actually this brand consistency, this integration into the marketing workflows and so on, because prompting a cool visual is very different from creating the right machine that meets the marketing needs.
Fantastic. So, Ferdinand, whereabouts do people find out a little bit more about your work? So now they know your history. Is it LinkedIn? Is it website? Is it both? Is it a different channel?
So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So Ferdinand term is my LinkedIn name, and I post like several times a week. And yeah, I think that's the main channel to find me.
Fantastic. Ferdinand, thank you so much indeed. Folks, for everybody listening in, please follow along. We produce broadcasts and podcasts every single week with some of the most amazing experts like Ferdinand in the world. I wish you every success and see you next time.